Want to get a first at university? Well, let me share some of my top tips that help me do exactly that. Hey guys, it's Tom here again from Save the Student, and in this video we're going to be doing something slightly different. I'm going to be drawing on my own personal experience to tell you how I got a first at university, including the most important tip of all, which is coming at the end, which most students tend to forget when they're going for a first. Oh, and obviously don't forget to like and subscribe for loads more stuff like this. So I should probably start off with a bit of information about me. I graduated with a degree in English language and linguistics from a Russell Group university a few years ago. It was Queen Mary University. It was primarily an essay-based degree, but I did have 3 or 4 exams during that time. And I'm going to be sharing some of the things that I found helped me, plus some other things that I know have helped other students get a first too. But it is worth remembering a few things before we go into my tips. So first of all, it's worth knowing that a first class degree is not the be all and end all. So lots of employers will like the fact that you have a degree full stop. It's not something you absolutely require to get a good job after uni or succeed in your post-uni life. And actually there are a lot of employers who would accept a 2-2 into their graduate schemes. Secondly, not all tips work for everyone. So you might find that some of the tips I'm about to share will work better for you and others not so much. But also, there are no guarantees. So even if you follow all of the tips I'm about to give you, there's no guarantee that you'll get a first. And that's despite the fact that you might see some other videos saying if you do X, Y, or Z, you'll definitely get a first. That is not the case. And finally, bear in mind that most of these are general tips for doing well at uni. There are more specific things you can do to do well in essays and exams. And if you do want us to do videos on both of those things, just drop a comment below. Step 1 is to study something that you actually enjoy. Now, obviously, this is ideally something that you would have sorted out before you went to uni. And if you're already there, you might be thinking, well, it's a bit late for that now, isn't it? But actually, there are some things you can do to enjoy your course as much as possible. Specifically, I'm referring to picking your modules. And when it comes down to doing that, make sure you pick the ones that you are interested in and not just the ones that your friends are going to. Because ultimately, if you are interested in something, you'll take it in much more easily. You'll be able to make critical arguments more. You'll be able to analyze what you're doing. And ultimately, these are the things that are most important when it comes to getting a first. But also see if you can find out how each module is assessed. So if you know, for example, that you're better at exams or essays and there is a module that leans either way, that might make a huge difference to the mark you get at the end. So factor that into your decisions too. Next up, and you might not like this, but whether they're online or in person, make sure you go to your lectures, especially the smaller ones. So I went to pretty much all of my lectures over the 3 years and I only really missed them if I had a pretty good reason. Now, part of the reason was that I had only 8 hours of lectures a week, so I could pretty easily fit in all of my life around it. But also, you know, if you're paying to be there, you might as well go. We do actually have a calculator on the site that tells you how much uni breaks down to per hour, the effective cost, so give that a look. But mainly it was because I found being in the lecture so much more informative than just reading the slides afterwards. So sometimes the lecturer would add a bit of extra context or maybe chuck in an extra nugget of info that you wouldn't get just from the slides. But also by being there, you get the opportunity to ask questions if there's anything that you don't understand. So all in, actually going to your lectures adds so much more value compared to not being there. The next tip is actually kind of linked to the last one. And it's a great reason to go to your lectures and seminars, and that is to speak to your tutors. By going to your lectures, by speaking to them, it helps your lecturers or your seminar tutors get to know your face and recognize that you are actually taking an interest and making an effort. But the real value in speaking to your lecturers or your tutors is that if you're ever unsure about an aspect of your course or maybe want to know more about something else, speak to them about it. They are quite literally paid to be there to do this, and they are definitely the most qualified person you can ask. So make sure you reach out and speak to them. And if you have to write a dissertation, when it comes around to that period of time, they can help you identify topics to look at, maybe even something that they're interested in themselves. And who knows, it might even help your dissertation mark if you go for something that they are really keen on. The next tip is something I am really, really passionate about, and that is getting the basics right. Probably the best example of this I can give would be on essays, where it can be that 10% or sometimes even more actually of the mark are for things like referencing and written English. Now, most of the time I would tend to get full marks for this because I took the time to get it right. And I think these can be the easiest marks in the world, absolute bankers if you get into the routine of knowing how to do them. And at the end of the day, those extra marks could be the difference between one grade and another. So if we take those two things one by one, on referencing, there are tools that can do them for you, but I was always pretty wary of using them. I kind of went through a phase of trying it and it would always get one or two wrong. So I would say take the time to learn whatever referencing system your uni wants you to learn. And then at least if you are using a tool, you can then double check what it gives you afterwards. As for written English, now I fully appreciate this is something that some people struggle with, but I do think that there are some small steps that everyone can take to kind of work towards getting a better mark here. So a great first place to start is getting an extension like Grammarly, which is way more powerful than the spell check that's built into things like Google Docs, but it's also really good at picking up on odd sounding sentences that don't flow very well. And this is a massive part of getting full marks for written English. Another thing you can do is to try reading your work out loud to yourself once you're done. Now, I would say a good general rule to follow is that if you're reading it out loud and it sounds okay, so there are no kind of odd sounding sentences or things that don't flow very well, that's generally an indicator that it's probably written okay as well. And obviously, if you're not super confident in your own ability to proofread your work, there is also the option to get a friend or a family member to proofread it for you. But it is worth being very, very careful about your uni's policy because some don't allow it at all, others have limits on it. And what I would say is that if you do have a friend who's writing an essay on the exact same subject as you, probably best to steer clear of letting them proofread it, because even if you completely trust them, there is a chance that maybe even subconsciously it will impact their work, and then you'll both end up getting in trouble. Fifth tip, try to be original, because that's one of the key things that will set you apart from other people and help you get the top marks. I try to do this whenever possible, even if it was just a case of chucking in a different reference in there that shows that you've gone beyond the kind of set reading that they've already given you. This doesn't necessarily mean having original ideas, although this will definitely help, as certainly will help when it comes to your dissertation. What it mainly means is not using all the same references and making all the same arguments as everyone else in your course, because remember, whoever's marking your work will be marking dozens, maybe even hundreds of the same type of essay. So anything you can do to set yours apart from the crowd will definitely help. It also doesn't mean that you should never use the assigned text or the assigned reading that you've been given, but a really good trick to start with is to go to whatever they've already given you, look at who that paper is referencing, then go to that paper, look at the ideas there, see if there's something you can add to your paper, and then there's a very good chance that that'll be a reference that nobody else uses. This next tip is a super quick one, but still really, really important, and that is to learn from feedback. Don't take these criticisms personally, they are there to help you, and if you do ignore them, the chances are you'll probably just lose marks for them again at some point in the future. So if your lecturer gives you some feedback and it says something like, you need to formulate your arguments better, for example, work on it. And if you don't quite know how to do that, or you don't really understand what they're asking of you, again, speak to them. That is literally what they're there for. This next one kind of reveals one of my toxic traits, and is actually something that I still have to work on to this day, and that is to plan your work before you start. My temptation almost all of the time is just to go straight into a task because I want to get stuff done, and obviously doing a plan takes time, but the reality is that doing a plan will only take, 15, 20 minutes, possibly less if you're doing an exam. But in the long run, it'll save you time and you'll probably get a better result at the end. Among other things, it means you know how many words and how much time you can dedicate to each section of your essay. It means you only need to think about one section at a time. It means you won't be repeating yourself over and over again. It means you can develop an argument that develops and flows well. And probably most importantly, it means you won't be panicking, you won't be improvising, you won't be stressing all the way to try and get to the word count or try and get to the end of the essay that you're doing. Don't go too far the other way though and think that you can't change your plan as you go along. That's absolutely not true. What it does mean though is that when you do get a new idea, it's great because you now have a good plan in place and you can figure out where the best place is to put that new idea so it fits into what you're trying to say. The penultimate tip I'm going to share is to find out what works for you, because as I said at the beginning, not all of these tips will work for absolutely everyone. For example, it could be that you actually don't like taking notes during a lecture. It could be that instead you prefer to sit, listen and record the lecture while it's happening, and then later on take notes as you're listening back to what you've recorded. Or take something like mind maps. Some people love them and some people hate them. I remember, for instance, I had a teacher at psychology A level who insisted that we all do mind maps all the time. And I was always just kind of like, mate, this doesn't really work for me at all. So what I'm trying to say is don't let anyone tell you that there is one specific way that is best to revise or to learn. Allow yourself the time, allow yourself the freedom to work out what's best for you, because that could be the key to you unlocking those high grades. And last but not least, I'd say the biggest tip until last, the one that lots of people forget when they're trying to go for a first, and that is to try and maintain a uni life balance. Don't overdo it. Don't burn yourself out. Remember that uni isn't just about getting a degree. It is also about having fun. It is also about meeting new people, seeing new places, learning new life skills, all of these kinds of things. And even aside from all of those things that uni is also about, if you work too hard, you will burn out. It will damage your mental health, which, aside from being something that you'd obviously like to avoid anyway, if that happens, it will make it even harder for you to get those very top grades. So as I say, take time to do whatever it is that you enjoy doing outside of uni work. And remember that things like fresh air and exercise are also super, super important for healthy brain function. Now, that doesn't have to mean going to the gym or going for a run if that's not something that you like doing. It could just mean going for a walk for 20 minutes, half an hour, taking a step away from uni work and taking time just for you. So there you go. Those are all of my top tips for getting a first university, but we do also have a guide on the website with loads more advice in it, which we've linked to in the description of this video. So give that a read. And in the meantime, best of luck getting your degree, be kind to yourself, and don't forget to like and subscribe for loads more stuff like this.